do is I'm going to go over the strats that got me to a 43 PRKD, 20% over the last 8 months. And what my plan is to get to 42. I am going to take a little bit of time off from any percent now that the tournament is over. And I'm going to dust up some of the other categories and see if I can't use the 8 months of experience that I got from PRKD to get better times in all 5 major categories, including starting with GT Classic, then RVO, Hundo, and low percent. I just wanted to have a documented video record that might be a useful resource for people who are going for similar times. So we're going to go through the entire run from start to finish. Room by room. It's not going to be a tutorial per se, but it's going to be a little bit of a guide. One thing I want to note is I'm actually coming through all of these rooms in piano grip, so I have more control over jump, and I find that really helps with short jump presses. So just piano grip, or coming across like the jump up like this. By the way, I'm using standard control configuration with select and Y swapped, so I have item deselect on Y and item deselect on select, and item select on Y. The other thing that I'm doing is I'm coming through these doors with an angle held, and what that allows me to do, especially on stairs, I'll show you in the next room. Here's a great example in this room right here. A lot of people who are being very aggressive will arm pump these stairs, but you risk falling off. What I've found is if you hold an angle through the door, and then in the door transition buffer the other angle, you get one extra arm pump, you save some frames, and you'll never fall off the stairs. So again, I'm not going to be going for my optimal best times in all of these rooms, but I just wanted to sort of share a little bit. Some of the things that I've discovered and some of the things that I think might be useful to other people. Here I take 3 hits, and then I actually hold forward an angle on the D-pad. Take this quick hit down, and then I use this crouch as timing. I release jump at the top, and then deboost off. So I don't do a full jump here. I begin releasing jump just when I reach the bottom of Ripley's backside. And that allows me to do this little damage boost. And if you get, you need to let your iframes run out there. And so that all the movement that I do there is timing to let my iframes run out, essentially. So that when I do the jump up to Ridley, I can immediately take damage and save time in this room. And you can see that's a nice room time, 654. By the way, I'm doing the same thing here, so you can see the head angle and held through the door, and then I switch to angle down on the other side of the transition, so I'll immediately get buffered angle arm pumping. I'm not going for absolutely optimal times here. This is what we do. Here I'm using Beefy's setup. With the positioning in the previous room of the banister. Part of the banister would be points out. And then I actually buffer jump here. I hold jump so that I can simply tap right position. Here at this spot, I just do a single arm pump at the bottom of the magnet stairs to try to avoid magnet stairs. That's kind of ideal situation there, getting that iframe scheme in this room. So I run the stairs pretty aggressively here and just go for the best tile that I can find. I think really jump through that door optimally, really you want to be a little bit higher than the almost even at the top of these sprites. That's fine, we're not going for optimal, we're just trying to document the strats we're using. We'll probably get a 47 out of this actually, not that it matters. I do an angle down grab of the top platform. Hopefully that wasn't too poorly described. I'm going through this early section pretty quickly because it's going to be very consistent across categories, but I just wanted to point out a couple of those things. Mainly the fact that I do that buffered angle through the door, I use piano grip, my setup for Ridley, and then, yeah, I think the escape is all, the series escape is all beef robbers setup. Here I hold an angle through the door because I find it nice to, again, I don't want to run off this platform, so by buffering an angle down through the door, I can get that one extra arm pump, and then here I can do an arm pump onto this ledge. Grab it quickly and try to arm pump across this platform. I think standard visual cues to jump from here. My visual cue here for this downward shot has changed. When I'm doing this down back, I'm looking for Samus's back foot, so here on the right side foot, but it's closest to the red door. As the back of her foot crosses the edge of this platform, that's when I do my downward shot to open the door. It's very, very consistent if focusing on her back foot. Of course, I really screwed up because it wouldn't be a review if I didn't have that issue. Confusing, what's that? And then my visual cue here, for when I can release down, is there's actually a moment when you can see your downward shot. I do 5 downward shots. You can actually see your downward shot collide with this platform, and that's when you know that it's safe to release down, because at that point Samus would be far enough down to clip through the platform. Do a couple arm pumps here in the beginning. Try to squeeze in a couple of these middle platforms. And usually I'll get a 4-2x time. So far so good. I switch to piano grip here, and I try to get 2 arm pumps in on this platform, and then 2 on the top. Piano again helps me have more precise movement. Here I switch to regular grip, and then I use that pyramid in the ceiling for my visual cue when doing the angle up shot. 2.4x is a better room time. That's a fine way to do the room, the way that I just did it. You can do it more optimally, obviously, by grabbing the wrench earlier. And I'm not worried with fully optimal performance at this point. I'm just trying to document generally the strats that I use. This is going to be a resource for me in the future when I come back to actually go for 42 in this category. And hopefully a resource for others as well. Okay, this room. So obviously the optimal strat is to do this. I'm still learning this strat to get it more consistent. I found that releasing dash through the door actually makes this jump a lot more consistent for me. It doesn't really lose much time. Then I replace dash. This is the strat that I'm going to be switching to my 42 when I go for it. 4.3 is a really good room time. What I had been doing up until this point is this strat, is 2 gap skips, which is pretty good, and I can normally get like a low 5-1x. This is a little bit slower. 4.3 is fine. It's a very good stream, unfortunately. Sorry. Alright, so that's my strat now. I can get a 3-0x if I really push it, if I slow down a little bit there. And the reason I do that is because I found that the end of the room, the optimal way, just became pretty inconsistent for me. Nothing really different to say about Parlor. Or any of these rooms. Didn't mean to spend that much time in climb. Can always edit it down for YouTube later. Standard setup here. My visual cue for when to move on BT is that little arm chug that BT does. So I jump, I do 1 shot, and then I line up right in this position right here. If you don't get it perfectly, you can always move. This is the nice key position where BT just did this little bit of AI there. Now obviously this is not optimal because when you're shooting BT in the air, as many people have pointed out, you're actually slowing down BT from going around, but a lot of runners consistently benefit inconsistency in it. So, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. My cue for the upshots is just as her beak finishes opening. So just when that beak finishes opening is when the first shot comes in. And your 3 shots and try to spread these out as far as possible. Get good drop distribution. 1, 2, 3. Nice consistent fight. And then my visual cue here is what I actually see. So BT actually disappears here, and you can see the sort of grayed out area of BT disappear just at the end. And what I'm looking for is just that moment, first frame when BT completely disappears. And what I'm doing is I'm holding angle up, and just on the frame that I see BT disappear, I will tap the other angle button. So I'm holding R here, I'll tap L, and what that does is Samus will very briefly for just a moment point up, which means that you can't run forward at that point. And as I do that, I will hit forward and I will buffer forward, and then as soon as I release the other angle button, Samus will start moving, and that is just enough delay. It's just enough delay so that you won't bonk the door. It's really, really nice and consistent. If you run as soon as BT disappears, you'll bonk the door. Because the door hadn't opened yet. But if you can open the door. Alright, hopefully you can hear me. Audio is better. Excellent. Here I'm just using the standard buffer shot. I'm not planning on changing that. I just find this much more consistent, and oftentimes you're going to need it anyway for ammo and stuff like this. I was pianoing this room for a while, but I've given up on that. It'd be nice to get the drops, please. Thank you. This room I do slightly suboptimally. I arm pump and I jump on here. I think this is the standard visual cue. For this one, people use this as the visual cue for the jump. I've started jumping just a little bit earlier. It's easier to get over the second Keiko. Slightly slower, but still pretty good. And I mean, that's a 606 elevator grab. If I was really grinding that time in my rooms, a 601, 602, 603 would be possible, but I think 606 there is just fine. Anything sub 610 is pretty excellent. Not doing the optimal jump off the elevator, but that's fine. 1 angle down missile is sufficient. 2 is kind of risky. I do like holding jump and hitting the ceiling here rather than doing the shorter mock ball. The reason I don't do a short hot mock ball is because it leaves sort of the timing for the waver for the D-boost to be better. That's something I picked up from Ruya. Here, I'm holding angle. I guess I should have a hand cam. I'm holding angle while I'm in morph, and then I can simply tap jump once to unmorph. Right, so it's a nice way to get that quick unmorph. Just tap jump, 2 arm pumps. I could probably make that a little bit more efficient. I'm going to need to work on that faster shot of the second waver. Something like that's probably fine. Okay, so here you can do a nice little hop to clear these platforms, but I find it has a little bit of variance and consistency, and to increase consistency I do what some runners do, which is to intentionally bonk this platform right here, and then it sends you into a straight down where you just need a single left and right press. Right, so this is optimal, but it's a little bit trickier to navigate, and so I intentionally bonk, and then I item deselect supers, and then arm pump here. Anything 3 or sub 3 is good. I use the P shot to delay the Rio by 1 frame. Yeah, that's a little bit nicer, I think, but I guess less necessary. My visual cue for the jump here is these 2 little guys. I tap left just as I pass this platform, and then I jump off this shorter little flower. And now here, you don't actually need to get the turnaround animation to get the optimal time here. There's like a 4 or 5 frame window, something like that. You just need to tap right. So here I tapped right, and if you can see, if all I do is hold angle in the transition, I've already turned around. So you can actually be facing left and have gotten the optimal grab in this situation. You don't have to have the single frame. There's a single frame on which you will actually turn left. Here's the same thing. Spin jump was facing left. If I just hold angle, I turn right. I don't need to continue to hold right. So you can simply hold angle here. Angle saves you another frame out of the item fanfare, because if you don't, Samus is still above the ground, and it takes her another frame to land. If you hold angle, you expand your hitbox. By expanding your hitbox here, you save another frame. So full jump. Here, that's the 1 frame where you actually get the turnaround, but you don't need that to get the optimal stop, or the optimal turnaround. Obviously, you can go for up and 2 here. Doesn't really matter. Saves 10 frames, whatever. A couple arm pumps. Sub 30 is actually better there. 30.02 is fine. Now I'm going to do something a little different here. I'm actually going to do this room like this. And I think that that's actually really nice to do the room like this, and the reason is it's obviously the D-boost is better, and it's going to save time. However, what I'm trying to do is not take any damage in this room. And I think for PRKD, especially for people who aren't pushing top times, if you can avoid taking any damage in this room, I think that that's really important. 10-2x is not a bad room time here. Okay? So I'm going to do everything that I can to not take damage in this room to save myself health for Phantoon. Here, when you come up to this platform, you can grab this platform quickly. If you just run off, though, sometimes the RNG of this hopper puts it right in Samus's path. You can kill it with a charge shot, but it's really tight, so I do a small hop off here, so I land a little sooner. It's slightly inefficient, but it does the trick to make sure that you always kill that hopper. That's the one situation that is a little unfortunate here. If you get the low hop, you just have to delay a little bit to not take damage. Yeah, 10-2-7 is a little slow, but it's fine. Here I'm just doing this nice fast release shot. It saves a little bit of time if you release just as Samus hits. If you wait until after, it's slow. If you do it just as it hits, it's going to be faster. Learn that from Cutie, just to preserve Samus's momentum, yeah? And then you can actually angle down or down grab this platform. I actually release dash here because you don't need to be holding dash. You can actually see from your horizontal speed. So 4C is Samus's max speed. And you actually you reach 4C speed by about here. So you don't need to be holding dash anymore. And I find that holding dash, sometimes when you're trying to hold all these buttons, you can actually try to hold, you're charging and holding dash, and then you're getting ready to jump. And if you accidentally flick jump by accident here, you can actually take damage off these spikes. It's happened to me in runs before. So I just simply try to simplify the inputs, simplify what I'm holding. You hold fewer things, you're less likely to have an accidental press somewhere where you don't want it. Here, you just have to remember to jump up high enough to get the second waver to move. It's tempting to go very tight to this platform when you come up here, but if you don't jump high enough, then this waver won't move far enough. My plan in the future is to learn this optimal setup where you can actually shoot your P shot to the right side of the first ripper, but I've not picked that up yet, right? So you can actually shoot it to the right side of this ripper and then go up, but it's actually a little challenging to do that, both to get around the ripper to the left side and shoot to the right. So for now, I'm just going to cover what I have been doing, which is to use these spin break jumps so I don't actually get one of these mid-air morphs. I'm finding it a little bit harder to play and talk at the same time than I thought, but that's okay. 1, 2. 2 big wall jumps and we're good to go. Alright, now I'm going to gauge my health in this next room. So 199 is great, that means I'm going to do 2 deboosts here. And I use decalled setup for this. Now the reason why I use decalled setup, obviously it's optimal to jump from the previous room and do this deboost, but I've found that more often than I would like, and this is my own issue with gameplay and precision, is I will often do this deboost, and you can, if you're not careful, get stuck in this, and it's a ceiling vial plume, so it takes a long time. So slightly less than optimal, but still pretty fast, is to just do the room like this. If my health is lower, if I'm in a race situation, if I need to farm, I'll actually do this overfiend strat and try to go for this double farm. If you do a slightly higher jump here as you drift over, that slightly higher jump is, again, slightly inefficient, but it gives you a good angle to double farm these Zeelas, and then you can do the second deboost after it. Alright, so that's a really nice strat, especially if you get a super. Then that means that you're going to get a big health drop from one of the cacks, which is really great. Yeah, I mean, that Zeela, that top vial bloom can be trouble, right? But if I have full health and I'm trying to go fast, I just do the room like this. I charge a shot angle down here, and I actually release dash. I don't think you have full horizontal speed here. Let's see. No, you don't quite, but I find it slightly easier to get around the corner like this. I'm not doing the morph strat. I was doing the morph strat for a while, but I just found it inconsistent, and I was trying to add consistency. You have to do quite a bit here. And if you don't get that bounce quite right, you don't fix the door anyway, so simply switch back to this, and I piano this as well. If I'm pianoing, this makes it a little bit easier. And this is pretty good. This is about a high 2x, low 3x touch time, which is pretty dang good for a power bomb touch time. I lay my power bomb in line with this crack right here. Any lower and you won't kill both cacks. Okay. so far so good for this little review. Okay, so here you can obviously buffer a jump. Okay, you can buffer a jump by holding left and jump off the elevator. And optimally, what I had been doing for a while, but I've given up on because it was inconsistent, is actually not just holding left, but left and down. And then what you can do is very quickly go into this downward motion. I think that's really the optimal way to do this. And if you do that really well, you can actually lay this power bomb all the way up against this platform. I'm not going to grind to try to get that right now, but essentially what you need to do for those inputs to work is you need to be holding left and right. Then as the jump starts, that buffered jump, then you need to switch to just down for a moment, and then release and repress down. If you are holding down and right, and this is the trick to this little bit of this strat, you can also use it in blowing up the tube to Meridia as you pass by later in Upper North Fair, or going to Upper North Fair. If you try to release and repress down here, you will not morph. You need to have this, instead of angle down, you need to be using angle down on the D-pad. You need to quickly switch to down, then release, and then repress. If you do that, you will get the fast morph. If you do not do that, if you still have right held on the D-pad, this will not work. That's pretty good. In this room, I try to go for the extra farm by doing this strat. And then what I do is I actually wait here for the door to open, so I have maximum speed, because I do not use CWJ. My plan was to always main horizontal bomb jump. So by standing back further and getting more run speed into the next room, I can get a pretty nice room time. 7-4x is pretty good. And then what I do is I actually release dash in the door transition, because I found that when I was holding dash, I was more likely to run into moat, and that sucks. So I essentially wait until I can see that I can move Samus again, and then I just jump without dash held. And you can actually do some nice things here. If you feel like you've overjumped it, you can double tap up on the D-pad, or do anything to break spin if you double tap it, and you'll stop Samus's momentum. And if you come up short, you can often just hold down and make sure you grab the platform. So there's a lot of ways that you can make this work, even if it's about to fail. I'm not going to talk about horizontal bomb jump that much. There's a lot of tutorials on this. What I will say is that when I practice this, I use the shot timer and I use Eddie's setup, going for somewhere between 51 and 53 frames. And then the second bomb on 20 to 21 frames. My visual cue is to watch for the part of the end of the animation of the bomb that starts to accelerate in the speed of blinking. The blinking actually increases in speed, the rate at which the bomb blinks. This is the same problem I've had the whole tournament. It's just been really inconsistent for me, and that's fine. But we're just going to get across and go. Couple arm pumps, couple arm pumps. Arm pumping on all these platforms except the down ones. Very standard room. Use those fleas. Just going for nice short jump taps here. Pianoing I find helps with that. So I'm using one finger to hold dash and the other to do these taps. Here I'm turning around. I'm running all the way off this platform, and as I turn around, I'm holding down and shooting the first shot, then switching to the down back and doing the next two shots. And it works nicely if you do it that way. Okay, easy peasy. Here, I like to stay in spin as long as possible. If you start hitting down too early, here I cleared it, but down too early and you're likely to clip the edge of this robot. So I like to stay in spin as long as possible here. There I would not have cleared it. And by the way, for these bombs, I should say, I'm trying to be a little bit optimal on these bombs. If you stand up here, that's fine. But I'm trying to be a little bit more optimal, and so what I do is I lay the bomb, I go back, and I wait again for that faster blinking of the bomb, and that's when I roll back towards it. So I go about 2 tiles to the left, or whatever, 2 tiles away from the bomb, I wait for the faster blinking, and then I actually will move forward. And I use that in a lot of situations. Here I'm buffering an angle, just like I was in early supers, so I can just tap jump and unmorph Samus. Since angle is held, I'll go right into that unmorphed position and be able to shoot the super pretty much immediately. There, I did it so early that I actually blew a super. I did it again. So there's a nice instruction on how you can be just a little early with that. Be careful. Okay. There's nothing really to say about Phantoon here. I'm not going to do any kind of Phantoon tutorial. There's just no reason for it. And just for fun, what we're going to do is we're going to set an optimal RNG pattern. We're just going to have this be... Let's do fast right and fast left. See if we get the drops we need. Fast, fast, just to show the capability. Obviously, you don't need fast, fast, but... One thing I will say about those air Dopplers is I actually like to give myself more time in the air, and you get a higher jump if you start from a crouch. And so what I actually do for those air Dopplers is I will start in a crouch for my air Dopplers. I jump, then I start holding forward, and then I shoot. Jump, hold forward, then start shooting. But the crouch is really nice because you get a higher jump, and with a higher jump you spend more time in the air. I also try to stay closer to Phantoon, but I've gotten sort of bitten in the butt by that, because if you're too close, then what happens is you can actually take an extra hit off Phantoon, which is bad. That's all to say about that. A 46-second room time is excellent. Honestly, going for 42, if you look at the high 42 runners like Aussie and FSG, and folks like that, Oziel, Banana, they all have about 60-second room times there. That's fine. Here you do the little aim down to fix this door. You don't need to do this jump. You can actually just hold angle down, or just hold down here, and you'll, as you fall off the platform, and you'll be in a nice position to very safely. I did this for a long time, including I think in my current PB. But if my health is okay, I'll do the jump across. I actually don't do the deboost because I'm trying to save health, and I think that's a perfectly reasonable way to be conservative. It's obviously slower, but it's not the end of the world. And then what I do on the way back is I claw with my left hand, and I set up this item deselected power bombs. Here I'm just arm pumping with angle down because I find it easier and more consistent. And I should say my visual cue for this angle up shot. First of all, I jump from here to get up to this platform, and then as I'm passing this area is where I can get my angle up shot. So essentially those two background green structural sections are what I'm using. Let's see if we can get that just a little bit cleaner. that should be fine. I wait just a beat to arm pump there. I use essentially this line right here in the floor, which is 2 of these sort of larger tiles away from this background area as my cue. Silly me. Let's try again. That is not an optimal farm, actually. What I do need to work on in the future is getting this farm to be a little bit better. I do like taking the extra farm. But I think anything under 11 is really good, and ideally you get like a lower 10-minute time. Here, I'm jumping right here. And that allows you to get that nice morph in between. I opt for the slightly slower strat here, opening the door first instead of farming first. I find that this farm is hard. I may need to reanalyze this to try to save some time. But I find this farm, even though you generate the drop first, then you open the door, I actually really like the comfort of doing it this way, by opening the door and then starting to charge my charge shot in the next room. You can usually go pretty quickly here. You do have to be careful not to miss that drop though, because that stinks. Okay, this room. Visual cue, you'll actually see that 2 things happen at the same time. First of all, when you enter the room, the pancake is going to jump, and it jumps and then it flails out. It jumps and then it flails out. That's one of my cues, but there's a simultaneous cue. It's this waver that is going to come into this room, and it's going to start at a lower position, and then it's going to move up in its pattern, swooping up towards this corner right here. So these things both happen at the same time. I guess actually the pancake does the opposite. Pancake comes up and then it closes itself. At the moment that it closes itself, that's when you can start having control of Samus. And at the same time, just after it does that, that waver starts swooping up towards this corner. So what I'm doing is I'm looking for that visual cue for when to jump, so I can get in between the waver and the pancake, and the shoot. That charge shot will always kill that first waver, and I switch to missiles. The first missile is pretty easy to hit. I actually have dash not held during this first bit of the sequence, and then I repress dash. And then just as I'm coming down to land on this, just as Samus is coming down to land on this, that's when I shoot my next 2 missiles in rapid succession. And that normally gets both of those enemies at the end. It's a little slower, but you get all the farms, and I think that those farms are very useful. Here I switch to a piano grip. I find that not falling off this platform is much easier if you use a piano grip. I think this is easier on keyboard and hitbox for obvious reasons. I think, at least for me, I have dash on B and I have jump on A. Trying to fat finger and do both of them with precision is very difficult. It's easier for me to hold dash through the door transition with B, and then be able to have a free finger to tap jump. The other reason why I like pianoing this room is when I'm fat fingering, it makes it a little bit difficult to always keep dash held the entire time, because I tend to go back and forth between B and A. And what you want to do to get hole in 2 here is really make sure that your dash is pressed all the time. So I find it really nice when you're doing these delayed D boosts to make sure that you're always in between the delayed D boost, to make sure you always have that finger on dash to really optimize and maximize the amount of time that you're dashing through this room, and that allows the hole in 2 to come much easier. Now this is obviously optimum situation, right? We did fast fan tune. We've been using save states. But, you know, you're getting a 13 2x touch time here. Or 13 2 flat. I've gotten a little bit better than this. I haven't really grinded out the rooms for the sake of what we're doing today. But you can see you can get quite a good time. And really, anything in the 13 3x, 4x, even 5x range is perfectly reasonable. The average high 42 runner, like FSG, like Aussie, like Azul, they're getting roughly 13 4x grab times. You can get a 42 with a worse time than that, obviously. Entering this room, I just like to touch down. I find that this is much safer. I just don't really ever want to have to deal with running through this item. It barely costs you any time at all, and it's really consistent. I probably need to change this because I see everyone is doing, you know, this little wall jump check here, this little door check. I don't know how much faster it actually is to do this deboost, but I'm just not consistent at it, so this is something that I'm going to have to come back to when I'm going for 42. But for now, I just do this jump strat. It's really just a few frames slower, as far as I can tell. And what I'm looking for is there are these background areas of the sky, and there's this darkest layer, this thick layer in the middle. It's about 2 tiles thick. I just wait for Samus's head to clip that. And I can usually get a 7.0x rune time on this. I think I've gotten a 7.03. Maybe my best time. Requires you to do a slightly longer jump. 7.06 is actually pretty good. Now here I like to charge a shot, because if you come up a little bit long on this jump, rather than take this damage, it's nice. Like there, I came long on that jump, and I didn't want to make contact. Now obviously it's optimal to just jump between, like this. Not being in spin, I'm losing a few frames, which is slightly suboptimal. We have 9 supers, so we don't farm. I probably don't farm on 8 either, because you're going to get one from the CAC later. I probably only farm on 7, definitely farm on 6. Buffer jump off the elevator here. You could do the moonfall strat here. It is faster. You can get a 11.0x. This strat is much easier. Just buffering the jump. You don't even need to do a down back here. It's 10 or so frames slower. Here you're doing a quick outward deboost for the first one. Here you're doing a downward deboost by delaying that press a little bit, so that you don't bonk on the edge of this file plume. And I like to stop that deboost before the door, so I can charge an angle down shot in the door transition here. And that means that you can release it if you have enough speed from the previous room. You can just release those buffered inputs in the door and immediately turn around for your moonfall. This second piece of seaweed or whatever from the top is a beautiful visual cue for when to do your moonfall weave. For now, I've not incorporated the second moonfall, and I think that's just fine. Here I use this line in the background for my visual cue for when to shoot. If you shoot after that, you won't hit the bat. If you shoot just at it, you'll hit the bat. Oh, okay, I guess it needs to be just above it, now that I say it out loud. You need a nice quick deboost to get up there, and boost up to this platform without having to jump. In the door transition, I buffer a jump input here. The reason for buffering a jump input is that I can push up as I come through the door and shoot, and from this position with jump buffered, tapping left will make Samus jump. Right? So I buffer up and jump, shoot, and from this position I can simply switch to that left D-pad input and immediately jump. Pretty cool. There's nothing to it with these rooms. Oh, actually that's a bad habit that I'm trying to break. There I menued to power bombs before opening the door, and if you don't menu correctly, if you do it here and you don't menu correctly, very often I've only done 2 instead of 3, and then you end up supering the door, which is bad. Charge a shot through this door. This is the same principle that I talked about earlier. If you want this nice, quick mid-air morph, then rather than running through this room and just double tapping up, which if you do it that way is fine, but you're always gonna land somewhere in the middle of this door transition. Right? So what I do here is I actually hold down and left, and then what you want to do, as I explained earlier, is you want to switch back to down, unpress, and then repress to morph in midair. Okay? Just like that. That'll put you at the maximum Y position, and this is obviously the trigger right here for how the glass blows. What I probably need to look into is starting my run from here, so that I have more run speed going into this next room. It's not something that I'm comfortable doing yet though, so something that I need to work on. But I think it is optimal to start your run in the middle of the tube so you have more run speed going into the next room. Nothing to say about this room. Visual cues for this jump are at the edge of this pillar in the background. And then for the turnaround, it's just as you pass this pillar. So these 2 long background pillars are really nice for what you need to do this room properly. You can be fast like that and save 10 frames and not take the drop. I prefer waiting for the drop. Could be a super. At least I'm at a point in my career where that 10 frames is not something that I'm worried about, and I want to try to get the drop. I don't hold dash here just to simplify my inputs a little bit. Try to make sure I have full run speed off that platform so that I can clear that door. Do a soft morph. And I actually hold jump through this morph tunnel move. And the reason why I hold jump is because then if I unmorph up against this wall and just tap left again, I can buffer that spin jump. These are not the most optimal strats, but they do allow me to do what? Increase my consistency, which is what I'm going for. Okay. 455 is a really good room time. The strat's a little slower, but allows you some extra farms. Fix the door, obviously, with the aim down. Jump through this door. I've seen a couple runners actually do this really interesting farm. Azul is one, where you actually shoot the second Sova and then deboost off the third one for a potential extra farm. I think that's really clever. It's something that I'm going to look into on my next grind. I'm trying to do it on the fly here. There you go, something like that. I think that's really interesting. It's something that I want to look into. But for now, the strat that I have been using is just like this. Importantly, I do not press dash on this unmorph. I guess it's probably a little bit faster, but I actually find it much, much, much harder to get this jump. Now here's the cool thing about this. We talked about this on the community main Discord a while ago. As you can see, the inputs that I have held through this door are right on the D-pad and A, which is jump. And if I hold those inputs through the door, shot was not selected, but because of shenanigans with the game that I'm not going to explain, a shot comes out in this situation when you're deboosting through a door, even if you have not pressed shot in the previous room or buffered it in the transition. And only in that situation will you get this to happen. So that's really nice. And you can essentially use that, then switch into your run, and you get that really, really nice clean room time. This is interesting. I've had a little bit of difficulty with Ice Escape. And what I've found is that from this point, if you go up against this wall, and as you're falling, do a turnaround, your speed through this door will always be 3.D. 3.D. Should you want, if you moonwalk backwards just a little bit, it's obviously slower, just to about right here, where you would start to bonk. You can get 3.E coming through this door, and have a little bit more speed, which means that you get to this platform faster, which means that you have the ability to freeze this tripper faster. Just something for people to consider if you're struggling with Ice Escape that I found and used for a while, although I'm not using it anymore. Be careful not to back up too far, because then your speed will be so great that you will run off this platform before this tripper gets here. Just something to think about. My visual cue for this jump is essentially just as soon as Samus jumps onto the tripper. I will not run to the end. I actually like jumping a little earlier. I'm much more likely, if I run to the end of the tripper, to overshoot this, land here, and then not have enough speed to get to a point where I can freeze this tripper in time. So I like to jump a little earlier to get to the edge of this platform. I run forward a little bit, and then I shoot. If you shoot immediately, you will not open the door. Right? I then, as I shoot the door open, I hold a charge shot. Holding the charge shot is great, because then I can release the charge shot as I land, which freezes this tripper, and then I can run forward and freeze this one, and the door's already open. So you can shoot this third trip pretty stinking early. Pretty stinking early. A lot earlier than you think you'd be able to. Okay. I unmorph just right here. Again, I do this just by tapping jump. If you unmorph earlier and try to shoot this door open, your wave beam or your spacer beam is going to take those blocks out. So just right before those blocks, not on the gate, because you'll open those blocks up with your shot. Just as you approach those blocks, and that'll give you nice full run speed. You get into this room. One other thing is I try to get a full jump so that Samus is up near the ceiling so that I can actually make it across. And then you can obviously fix this door. Okay, this room. I land here, and I do not press dash. As soon as I land, I shoot a shot, and I move forward without dash, and I switch to missiles and shoot. So as soon as you land, it's just a 1-2-3 motion. 1, 2, 3. Shot, item select, missile. Bump, bump, bump. As soon as I finish those 3 inputs, now I can switch to having dash on. Switch to dash, which happens just about here. Then you can do 2 more missiles just as you're crossing this threshold, and you'll be able to farm both power bombs every time. Doing it a little early. if you switch to dash too early, the shots are going to come out before the hopper comes over to you. This room is pretty nice. There's that Sova in the bottom right corner that you can see that starts to fall. As that Sova starts to fall, that's when you gain control of Samus. So that's when I know to do this little short hop mock. That room can be faster, but we're just going to move on. Nothing to this room. You can do the deboost strat here to exit if you really want. I have not been doing that. That's fine. I opt for full farm in this room, kind of like the KPDR setup at the bottom. What I will say that I do slightly differently is I run off this platform without dash held. I simply walk off this platform. If you have dash held, you're much more likely to run off completely like this. And then coming through this door, I item deselect missiles. Okay. 728 is actually kind of slow, for sure. Here I wait until Samus arrests her momentum with this angle up, stop on a dime. And then I can just take a little step forward for the second angle up shot to clear the ceiling. Nothing to it. Fewer than 8 supers. I will usually missile that door even though it's a little slower. Kind of suboptimal arm pumps, but that's fine. I need to pick up the faster exit from this room. I have not learned it yet. Still did the slow exit. Here I delay my super shot to try to limit the amount of lag from only having the one enemy dead. Entering this room, I wait until this guy lights up green before I start jumping. Nothing special here. It's probably a little bit too far, let's see. That's fine. Okay, this room. It's a little finicky. I haven't quite worked it out entirely. But I'm going to try to bonk and normalize off this wall. And I believe the speed that this allows me to get is 3.d. Let's see if I remember correctly. Oh, so off 5.9. And then what that allows you to do is run off this platform, land in the lava, and then arm pump, release, and then arm pump and hold. And it didn't work because it's persnickety, which is annoying. This required an extra arm pump. But there's a normalized setup here that I'm still working on. It's slightly different than the one Zenny teaches that allows you to get through this tripper every time. And the second was pretty much just RNG, whether you get through it or not. I don't do the deboost here. I did see Ozzy do something really interesting in his 42, which is to actually morph, unmorph, and then roll under. And I have not experimented with whether that's faster, but it's something that I'm going to want to look into, because I think it's a really interesting idea. My visual cue for this jump is somewhere around here. And you get maximum run speed. Well, I guess it's not maximum run speed anymore because you have speed. You can farm this if you want extra health for LN. I do a down back off this platform here. I guess it's not a down back actually, it's just an aim down, excuse me. Freeze this guy to reduce lag. And my visual cue actually for this is I keep my eye fixed on Samus, but with my peripheral vision, I'm looking for the appearance of this Namahe. Where I'm actually holding angle and jump on the D-pad, and I'm holding left for the D-boost, and then as soon as I see that Namahe show up, I release left on the D-pad, and that triggers the spark. That's if I get a clean aim down here, and this little quick drop, like that. If I have to charge the spark and then run off, you sometimes have less time to do that, and you need to do an upward spark instead, because the upward spark you can start a little bit further to the right. But hopefully in most cases you can get there. That was pretty slow. That probably doesn't work. Yeah, that still worked. Oh. Again, this isn't supposed to be perfect, but... Right, I'm holding down, I release down, and I tap angle up to stop myself. And then I can repress down and grab the elevator. Holding angle. 2024 elevator time is obviously pretty sick. I would need to play almost perfectly to get a time like that, but anything 21 minutes or somewhere around there is really what I'm looking for. This is going to be the same as the strat I showed before, running forward with angle down but using the D-pad. Now, switching to down for a moment, releasing and then repressing to get this quick air morph. Okay, easy peasy. I only just learned the trick to this room not too long ago, which is that you want to be towards the left side of this and then move onto the power bomb blocks only after they disappear. So try to lay the power bomb as soon as possible, and don't move onto that space until after the power bomb blocks are gone. That allows you to just simply hold right and clear this platform. If you go early, or if you sit in this and you hold right here, you're always going to bonk right here. But if you wait until those power bomb blocks are just gone, you're always going to weave around it. So that's nice. I don't do top shelf here, but I probably could. I have a good enough short charge for it. The nice thing about not doing top shelf is that if you do top shelf here, see, my health is 125. If I don't, and I go all the way to the end, my health is 132. So I can save 7 or 8 health, which could be all the difference in LN. In order to get that nice high placement of the power bomb, to avoid activating this bottom pirate and having less lag in the room, you really want to start towards the left edge of this and run all the way to the right edge to get maximum run speed, but you have to be careful, because if you get the tightest ledge grab possible and you run all the way to the end, that will happen. You will get that bad speed jump height combination, and it's like essentially a room reset. In this particular situation, if you beef something and you can't get up there in time, there's actually a really nice backup. It's slow, it's a good backup. I'll just mention really quickly. Okay, so you do this, maybe you beef something like that, okay? And now this guy's in the way. If you wait up here until he gets over, back to his original starting spot, so normally I would just do this, say I beef the jump. You'll always get over if you do that. I like to land here with my toe just on the edge of this background red texture. That was the slow room. Really should be 11 or even lower. I do this room a little bit differently than some people. I opt for something safer and more consistent. I may need to change this for when I go for 42. Do the faster normal strat, but for now I actually go around to the side. It is slower. It's something that I can potentially consider coming back to and fixing. Azul has a setup in this room that allows you to farm both of these key hunters. But he manages to do this in such a way that he farms both of the pirates with what appears to be an angle spark here. So I'll have to go and watch his video. I think it's very interesting, and it seems very consistent because you don't have to do this complicated turnaround. Anyway, it's a note to my future self. A note to my future self. My visual cue here for when to lay this bomb, obviously you can use the room trainer. But a little cloud of dust kicks up from Samus when she lands. As soon as I recognize the cloud of dust is when I drop this bomb. So I got Y4 and Y3, so that'll work. As soon as I see that cloud of dust. And then I try to lay this one as soon as Samus touches the wall. Cloud of dust, touches wall. Should work every time. Oh, by the way, coming off this platform here, it's the same as entering 3 pillars. If you land first, if you roll onto these power bomb blocks before they're gone, you're never going to be able to weave around this, and you're going to have to do down back. If you wait until just after they clear, you will always be able to weave around it and morph. So I have not been doing the double down back here. The first, or double down back, the double KGO. The first KGO saves the most time. So that's what I've been doing. Here you want to be careful. I like to try to do this spark as fast as possible, but if you do this spark too fast, you will actually hit the pirate on your way up. Which can be devastating, and you have to be careful about that. I like to read Samus going through the door. In that case, you saw that she went through the door about as high up as she can get towards the top of the door and spin jump, which is great. That means that you can just simply hold forward here and get all the way through. Obviously, you can still do the little morph boost off the corner of this platform, and that's going to be much faster. If Samus is lower coming through this door, then you are going to actually clip the edge of this platform and potentially take damage from this Garuda, so you do really need to aim down at that point. If you want to keep it simple, you can just, if you're high through the door, you can just simply stay and spin. But it is faster to do the little clip there. This room is something I do a little bit differently, I think. Normally, you farm here if you're doing beam fight. But I think that for me, anyway, doing those 2 aim down shots is a little bit tight and sometimes can cause some lag. So I've actually started using missiles here, depending on my missile count. So I want to make sure that I have 12, 15, or 18 for Ridley. I'm entering this room with 20, so I have 2 missiles to spare. So I will actually farm if I have 20, or if I have 2 more than I need for the Ridley fight, and I'll actually farm both of these. farming the extra power bomb here can get you more power bombs afterwardly, which means when you re-enter this room and you're farming power bombs, you can get small health. And sometimes that small health is the difference between life and death on the escape, and I think that that's an important thing to consider. Again, these are not going to be the optimal strats. This is not what you're going for, you know, 41, 40, but I think for 42, this is just fine. You have to shoot this missile pretty early. You can certainly blame me for inefficient use of missiles here, and you would not be wrong. But I think this is kind of clever. Okay, door check the room entry here. The way that I do the fight is like this. Just standard normal. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. I'm going to use some save states here just to get a more optimal fight more quickly. I have been doing fully damageless Ridley fights here, but I think I'm going to look into taking one tail hit's worth of damage, at least to start this fight. That's enough. Anything sub 80 for me in this beam fight is great. That's what I'm going for. Really good drops. With low health, you can actually go across the top of the room here. Farm the first bug, and then use the deboost off the second one. I do not use dash here. I find it more consistent to not use dash, as I take damage not using dash. The way that I do this manip is as soon I'm normalizing my X position coming into this room. So you can see it's 6005.0. And then as I bonk, I'm normalizing by hitting this wall as I come up, which means that if you hold left and morph, you're going to hit the edge of this platform. And then just as I come over the edge of this platform, I like to lay a bomb right there. This is how Eddie does it, I'm pretty sure. Lay a bomb all the way up against here. And then roll back to where the bomb is just off screen. I think I roll right a little bit further than Eddie does, and a lot further than some people do, like Sisream, for example. But everyone has their own manip, and that's fine. I jump over this, ledge grab, and then I'll split the gap like that. And that's pretty good. Sub 16 is better, but we're not trying to optimize this, so. I use these backgrounds, pillars, as my visual cue for the jumps. There, and there. And then here I'm going to release dash here. And I'm not going to repress it until the door transition. There's a lot of different ways to cut this room. Some people use a short charge, some people use a missile. Oh god. This room gets me. It's kind of like climb sometimes. Yep, and then I shoot just at the beginning of that first hill. So again, let me go over that really quick now that I have a save state. I try to get a tight ledge grab here and hold dash. I release dash here. I shoot just as I'm coming over this platform. And then I don't repress dash again until I'm in the door transition. After I shoot that shot, so again, release dash here, shoot the shot here, and hold shot, start charging. And then when you come through that door transition, then you hold jump again, or you hold dash again. Your shot should be charged by there, and then you can do this very clever little strat. Easy. I get pretty close to blocking the ceiling there, entering this room. It doesn't need to be perfect. And then here, I like to just clip the edge of this platform to slow me down a little bit, because I'm not going for the optimal boost strat here on this first pirate. I was a little too slow that time. The key part here is when you come up, when I hop up, I'm gonna stop at this point and then jump and aim down to get this key hunter to turn back to the left. For me, that's really the key to the minute, obviously, other than the entry, because it's going to turn that key hunter that's in the middle back to the left. And then this last one you just read based on what it's doing. But it's pretty lenient, and there's a nice long hallway, so you should just be patient and really never get hit by this key hunter, as I get hit by it twice. Don't go full to the ceiling on these jumps, at least I don't. I'd like to figure out how I get that min up a little bit better. Run off. 2 quick drops. There's nothing really to this room. People have talked about this bounce ball for quite a long time, and I don't need to worry about that myself. Not for the purposes of what we're doing today. I do try to farm both of these guys, or kill both of them to reduce lag. And then you can farm that so or not depending on your situation. Hey Charles, what's up, man? Thanks for the good luck. I have not instituted the new strat here that Zenny is using, but I want to look into it, which is timing your jump right here on this pillar, having a charge shot, and you jump through the top of this area. If you do this correctly, Zenny explained this to me the other day, you'll actually land here and open this door. So just a note to my future self, I want to look into that. And now I'm just doing this standard exit from this room. Nice to see you, Charles. How you doing? Hope your day's going well. Slow down, Prof. Okay. Yeah, I'm just doing... It's not really... I wouldn't call it a tutorial. I'm doing a sort of summary of the strats that I use to get to my 4321. This is an interesting one. So sometimes if you get health bombed at Ridley and you're in really bad shape here, I have seen people do some wild stuff to try to farm that is inefficient. If you just simply jump through this door and then buffer a shot and angle up through the door, you will always kill both of these Zeelas. Always. Jump through the top of the door, hold angle up, and buffer a shot in the door. You'll always kill these two Zeelas. So again, if you get health bombed at Ridley, and you're in bad shape and you're trying to save the run and you absolutely need these missiles for grade, if you immediately turn around and angle down, you will kill the third Zila. You can then farm all 3 drops in quick succession. You will often get a lot of missiles from these Zilas. They have a high missile drop rate. And that is a really nice way to back up this room. But in any event, I buffer a down shot through this door. I'm sure most people do, but okay, this room, if I'm using missiles, 2 missiles, visual cue, 3rd spike. If I'm using supers, because supers travel faster, a little bit later. Of course, you have to get the jump right.
The power of science.
$43.36. Holy smokes. That's incredible. GG's. Four down shots. And then 5 forward shots. Okay, back to this. My cue is just as Kraid's bottom lip, bottom of the mouth, hits the ground is when I start running forward. And then I use the eddy trick here. I look at my health and I buffer and I set up the inputs for a deboost, and I initiate the deboost with left on the D-pad once I see my health tick down. So run when the lip touches the ground, and then jump from that spot where the lip touches the ground. And as soon as my health ticks down, do the deboost. Hope everyone is having a good night. This door sucks. Gotta really pay attention to this door. 50 transition is not great. The lower you are in this door, the better the transition is going to be. What I really need to do is establish a better visual cue for coming through this door, for when to jump. 45 is pretty good. This strat also sucks, and I'm not going for the fast strat now. So I actually release my shot and use angle down to stop on a dime, which will open the door and then allow me to run forward. I'm going to continue to do that until the end of linear time, because the fast strat in this room sucks and it's hard. Visual cue here for the jump is being right underneath this little piece of background seaweed, or whatever it is, vines. I buffer this jump. When I come through the tube, I have this jump input pressed so that I can simply hit back on the D-pad to get this jump. It's super comfy. Don't jump until you see Samus. I stop on a dime, right here. A little to the left is fine. And then run forward again. This is going to put me in a position where I can always have nice speed coming through this tube, which will allow me to upshot, down grab, and run through and jump through this door. It's pretty sweet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 arm pumps. Switch to piano here. Definitely get a better time than that. Shoutouts to Stashio for teaching me the better decalled setup, the morph setup, which doesn't require any normalization of your speed coming into the room. What I had been doing in this room is bonking this wall and normalizing my entry speed. So if you shoot an angle up shot here with your speed, that'll open the door. And you can actually set that up in such a way that you get an even lower time. You can angle down straight through this door. So I come to here, and then as Stashio pointed out, what you want to do is you want to wait for Samus's charge shot at the end of her arm cannon to go away, morph, run over to this spot, and set up the strat. Save some supers if you can. Easy peasy. I'd like to learn this charge shot Zenny uses to open this door. I haven't really looked into it at all. I'm not sure exactly what makes that consistent or not. Visual cue for Yahtzee is jumping just where it transitions to yellow here. I really find that my half-E consistency is increased if I make sure to let this jump go for longer, this first jump. And that gives you more time at the top to shoot earlier. You can get like a 2-4-6 with that without much problem. Okay. Using the Azul setup now. This has been described by other people. I'm not sure that I do anything particularly different, so there's no real sense in talking about it. Let's just make sure we're doing this right. Pretty good. The key I've learned, really truly the key to this, is not jumping until you see the particles come on screen. Right, so I fall off this when the particles converge on Samus, and then when they converge in the middle is when I start my stutter 2-tap. I always try to morph here or later, so I'm not too fast getting back to the left. I stop here, particles converge, I jump, I get 2550. Easy. Easy game for children. If you need a backup, running from right here will get you up to the top. If you go further back, you get weird speedy jump issue or negative speedy jump issues where you don't get up properly if you try to do a full run. Full runs don't work. Let's do this two different ways. Just talk about this strat. Let's back up real quick. This should be a delayed deboost. So you actually go, oh for goodness sake, Samus. I should have made a separate save state. Delayed deboost, so you stay up top. Jump as soon as you hit the sand. Do one jump and then an aim down grab. And then obviously to not get stuck in the sand, you want to go to the right there. Delayed deboost. Why not? Jump as soon as you hit the sand, aim down. Should be a 14-second room time. 14.28. Really, really nice. Obviously, if you have the spike suit, you just use the spike suit. I'd like to learn the farm strat here. I don't know the farm strat yet, but it could be helpful in a pinch. Visual cues for this are shoot here. Just as this little slope comes up, and then the jump happens in between these two. That was a little early, actually. Makes it a little harder if it's earlier like that. So you can clip the platform. I use a very simple strat here. I claw this. I hit shoot. You don't want to hit shoot early, or your wave beam will go over and leave this bottom block exposed. And I have a slight delay to what is essentially amounting to a one tap. I release my charge shot right here. That will kill this Metroid. There's faster ways to do that room, I'm aware. Little delay, play the bomb, slight delay, then jump and do your wiggles. Okay, this room. Two options. Just shoot up. $326, not bad. Other option, as you pass the second crab, one moving towards you, release dash, and then jump here. Yeah, 311, so 15 frames faster. Piano this, makes it a little easier. I can learn the angle upshot to open this door earlier, but I have not been doing that. As far as the visual cues here, I come to the outside of this plant, and I jump at this light plant in the foreground. If you go to the dark plant in the background, then Samus will most likely bonk this on the way through. Or sorry, that's right. You don't bonk this, you bonk the lower one. Not a great door fix, that's fine. Visual cue for this platform right here. When this platform disappears, that's when you lay the power bomb if you're farming. Easy peasy. Come on, Samus. Sub 4 is really optimal there in that room. 4 is pretty slow. That's okay. Okay, we're getting down to the end of it here. Gotta make sure to jump high enough there for the charge shot to actually kill the key hunter. I'm gonna try to learn this strat. We'll see. The false strat. It's just not consistent for me right now. It saves about a second though, I think. That's a good strat. I just bonk the door here for consistent run speed into this room, because messing up this room sucks. My visual cues here are to jump as soon as I pass under this mushroom, and then release the shot just after I pass this notch in the ceiling. Easy peasy. And this room is pretty hard. So I'm actually looking, in each case, there's 1, 2, 3 of these double tile blocks. I'm looking to jump from the third one in order to clear the space. I'm starting the run from the end of the fourth one, and I'm jumping just as I reach the gap between the second and the third. And then when I come over this platform, I tap and release angle down, and that will stop Samus in midair, so I can get this nice super shot in. Sub 7 is totally doable there. A little bit inefficient, but that's okay. The 33 1x, 33 2x entry time. It's pretty good. When I'm grinding down the strats a little bit more, I can usually get about a 33-minute flat entry time into G4. But usually my current splice is somewhere around somewhere between a 40, 45, and a 41 flat. Which means that I have about 2 minutes to spare to get a 42. Which is not bad. I used to do the runoff and down back, but now piano. Oops. 953, 954 is usually possible. Okay, this room. This is important. I've had a lot of pain in this room. I'm not yet doing the missile strat to get this farm different. We'll get to it maybe one day. I'm holding dash the whole time, and my cue for my jump is just as I pass this red button. I then hold up to expand my hitbox so that I hit the ceiling sooner. If you don't do that and you stay in spin, you will often overshoot the Metroid that's coming towards you, and that's kind of GG's. Okay. Then there's these two pillars in the background. That's when I release up, and I let go of the D-pad. Samus slows down. I'll take a step forward, and then as I pass under this, I'll start to repress dash again. I make sure that I hold jump all the way to the ceiling, so I get that full jump. If I do the inputs like that, every time, it'll be consistent. Jump from here, hold jump the whole way, and have up held so you expand your hitbox and hit the ceiling early. You can release jump, and when you get to these lines in the background, that's when you release the D-pad. You will land about here. You can then press forward for about a tile and a half, and then you repress dash, and you land here. That will give enough time for the final Metroid that's coming forward to bonk the edge of this platform, which will send it downwards, and we'll group it with the other one that's following you, and then you can run forward with both of them to here. You can then grab this platform tightly, and hold dash from the edge of the platform to X position that aligns with this X right here. And you release dash, and you walk to this point. You crouch, you shoot. You group all three Metroids together. It's also very easy to missile them when they're grouped like that. I should learn the morph exit from the previous room so that you can do the down back through that gap. I think that's really neat. Oats does it, Sisream does it, and I'd like to pick it up, but that's for another day. It's for another day. Okay, if I don't bonk this Metroid, then I hold dash until here, and I jump at this space. I try to get a big jump, and try to get enough run speed to move to the middle to where I can group these two. A little early on that freeze, unfortunately. If I do bonk, then I run to the end of the platform. If I bonk here, I run to the end of the platform. And I jump here. In both cases, I shoot just before I land to freeze this guy. Little moonwalk there to get all the drops and get good speed for this next platform. This is definitely one of my most inconsistent rooms. Needs a lot of work. Try to not bonk the top of that door coming through, so you're continuing to rise coming into this room. I'm sure other people have explained this already, but I like this setup in the corner. Why? Because I don't need to hold dash, and if you're not holding dash, you don't need to do stutter. It makes the whole movement more consistent. I think I learned this from Stachio, but as soon as the baby gets into this corner, and it's doing its claw grabs, I wait 2 squeezes. 1, 2. And the second one is when I morph. 1, 2. 1, 2. Here I'm just holding forward without dash pressed, then I press dash after the first jump. 1, 2. Now here, when do I start moving forward? There's 2 bombs that fly up, and they explode at the same time, slightly after the first bomb. So there's one bomb that blows up right just above Samus's head. Then there's these 2 bombs that explode slightly after that. Those 2 bombs are my visual cue for when to jump. When I see the green ring from those bombs, is when I jump. Doing the strat like this, where you have the shot charge held, is faster, there's less lag, but I find it a little bit harder. Something to think about. I use angle down there to break spin, stop my momentum, so I don't need to turn around, which is slower. I'm kind of too chicken shit, honestly, to do that angle down shot. I really don't want to beef that super. What I do need to look into that I have not been doing is fixing this door transition. I have not been doing that. But you gotta be careful, because what you don't want to do is bonk that platform. So I have not been using that. But I really need to do this door fix. Yeah, and it's that bonk here is what you're worried about. Remember, for this, you want to both bonk this to normalize your X position, and then bonk this to normalize your Y position. And you want to make sure that after you get to this corner and normalize your Y position, that you release the D-pad before you take damage from this Rinka. You do not want a sort of a D-boost, you want a neutral boost backwards. So normalize X and Y, and we're good to go. And we need to work on this fight with the shot timer, obviously. But again, as you saw throughout the entirety of what I've been doing, these are, in many places, intentionally suboptimal strats to try to increase consistency. Thank you for the good luck. I hope you had a good stream, Twin. Point of the exercise. I just want to show what's possible, even with these suboptimal strats. Sea of Stars looks really, really fun, Twin. Welcome in everyone in Twin's stream. I'm Professor School. I'm a Super Metroid speedrunner. Recently got a low 43 in PRKD any %, and I'm doing a little documentation of the strats that I use to get to 43 and the ones that I'm going to use to get to 42. These strats are going to get me a, hopefully, sum of bests that's somewhere around a low 41, and then I'll need to play within, if I play within a minute of my sum of best, I should have no problem getting a 42, and I should be able to play within 90 seconds of my sum of best and still accomplish that. That's the goal. Anyway, that's the goal. But I'm actually just wrapping this up. I've been going room by room and making this documentation. It's going to be about 2 hours long. All things told, which is not bad for a 45-minute run. I was pretty efficient. So we'll go for a few more minutes here. And I might pass this raid train along. I got a nice raid from Tablespoon. We got a great PB tonight. Appreciate the follows, by the way. I'm very grateful. Thank you so much. Yeah, so we're just having a good evening, going through these strats, making the documentation. I'll upload this to YouTube a little bit later as well, too. I think that this is a nice resource for people that are going for 42s and 43s, and realizing that you don't need to do all the hardest, most optimal strats, and you can still get really, really, really good times in this game. There, I even missed a shot in that fight. Don't need to get that short charge now. Yo, what's up, Beefer? Thank you so much. Nice to see you, nice to see you. Okay, so in this room, I didn't talk about the actual strat itself, but for now, at least, I'm not doing the morph strat. It's something that I'd like to pick up, the morph unmorph, to get off this platform. For now, I'm just trying to do that close aim down to the edge and not turn around so I don't screw up the door transition. My cue for this spark is always this third pirate. When I see the third pirate and Samus runs by, that's when I hit down, and then I can usually do that and immediately get the angle up spark. Man, explaining this while I do it is hard, I'll tell you what. I don't know how Zenny does it. There you go. And here you just do a little door check. It's actually suboptimal door check. Here I do 2 wall jumps. You want to make sure the first one is high enough. When I see these lines is when I do my jump. And when I see this line, this is when I turn around for the moonfall. I do 5 wall jumps here. 2, 3, 4, 5. Or do I? Here I actually claw this, and I do a really funny claw where I'm actually I actually am holding dash and forward, and I buffer shot and angle up through the door. That ensures that my shot goes forward so that I always will kill these pirates even if my speed isn't good enough to get blue. And then I can essentially switch my thumb over from dash to jump to initiate the spark. So it's a little clever buffering there to make things a little easier. I do something different than most people do in this room. I actually tightly grab this platform here, and instead of doing the jumps that most people do, which is like this, I come up here and get a speedy jump. And then you can get a second speedy jump immediately. If you run too far, you will not get the speedy jump. You want to just you want to jump a little early and come just on the inside and wrap around this. Speedy jump is really nice. And then you can get another one there. I'm then going to break spin with angle up and then down grab, and I'm not going to press dash here because I find it much harder You're hoping for an early steam, so you can get that nice flow through the door. And you should ideally get a sub-9 door time there. That's a sub-9 room time. .41 1x, 41 2x is an incredibly good time, obviously. I didn't really grind these rooms down for the sake of what we were doing today. I didn't want to grind those down, but I can normally get somewhere close to a 41 flat using these quote-unquote suboptimal strats. 41 is pretty good sum of best if I would be playing near optimally. If you're going for a 42 and you use these strats, you're able to get them around a 41 flat splice time. A sum of best in the 41 second range is possible, which means you only need to play between 60 to 75 seconds off your sum of best, or depending on how good your sum of best is, close to 90 seconds off your sum of best in order to get a 42. So I think just an assessment of what's possible and what is necessary to get a 42. It doesn't require the hardest strats in the book. It doesn't require you to throw everything against the wall. You can do things a little bit more conservatively. You can lose 10 or 20 frames in rooms here or there to make things more consistent. And as you get naturally better at the game, maybe you can start to work back in some of those harder things, which is what I've been doing sort of procedurally as I go through this. But anyway, like I said, that was a 41 2x without grinding down any of the times, which I think is pretty heckin' good. And it just shows you what's possible. Alright, I'm going to raid Lunix, who's going for 45 KPDR. And I'm going to say thank you to all of you for hanging out. I'm very grateful. Thank you for the raids, thank you for the follows. And I hope that everyone has a really excellent evening, and come back tomorrow for some speedrunning action on Speed Gaming. Sethy and I will be commentating Cicerine versus... Who is Cicerine racing? I don't remember. I'm tired. It doesn't matter. I'll have a good night. Take care of each other and be well.